this stuff is landing or crashing around the world, and unexpected countries have had this happen. And that's why I picked that, because I thought that was a interesting case. And then, of course, Pope Pius XII and the Vatican were involved, back-channeling it through the OSS, which became the CIA later, to FDR. And that's how the U.S. knew something weird happened in Italy right before World War II. But
so this was 33 was the first, documented?
That is the earliest one I can talk about, yeah.
There's something that predates that?
You could infer that.
So this 33 one you said was in Italy?
Yeah, Magenta. So it's I'm bad at geography. I think that's like a Lombardy region. It's like northwest Italy.
And what's the story behind it?
So basically it looked like it crashed, right? The original shape most likely was like a lenticular disc-like craft, with like two dinner plates. So like two dinner plates, smushed together, right? The hump, and there's like a bubble on top.
Like the classic
saucer. Like that.
Like that. Okay.
But it looks like when it hit, the edges broke off, so it became this like bell or acorn shaped thing. And there was nothing in it. It was like just an artifact. There was no biological remnants, if you will. So it's so funny because the Italians were so confused, they actually called up the Germans and they were like, is this one of your Wunderwaffe? Like, what the hell just crashed in northern Italy? Mussolini, and this is all publicly available information because some Italian researchers found all these original documents that some people were sitting on for years in Italy. They put a gag order on the press, etc. The Germans came down and they were like, that is not ours, but let's look at it together. So that's kind of perhaps a tertiary reason the kind of Axis powers got together. I'm not saying that's like the reason, but I think the Italians and the Germans were so intrigued with what they found from like an artifact perspective. There was at least some scientific and military collaboration during the war, the details of which I'm not sure of, but I know people that know that specific event that are currently still intel officers within this program in detail. But
so was there witnesses to the crash or some sort of an understanding that something had crash landed and then they discovered it?
Yeah, I forget the precise discovery. I don't know if it was like local police officers or local farmers found it in the field, something like that. I don't want to misspeak. I assume some of the Italian researchers might have some fact witnesses that can orally say, oh, yeah, my great-grandfather found it or something like that. But I don't remember off the top of my head.
What was the scale of this vehicle?
It was probably like 20 feet by 10 feet, something like that. Not super huge, but kind of big.
Do they think that this was a drone? Do they think that this was occupied?
There was nothing in it. So if it was piloted, if you will, by some sentience, I mean, your guess is as good as mine.
So what happened to that vehicle?
So we knew where it was being stored at a particular location, and then the military came in and we grabbed it towards the end of the war, 1944, 1945, because, like I said, Pope Pius XII already kind of let FDR know.
Why did the Pope get involved? Because it's in Italy?
Well, interestingly enough, there's like a whole history of human intelligence prior to World War II and old money, the Vatican, the Italian mob, kind of the old country boys did a lot of informal intelligence collection for the U.S. And there's probably some books you can read on it, but it's really interesting. Human intelligence collection wasn't really formalized until the Office of Strategic Services, the OSS, which became the CIA in 1947. You had, Paul Mellon and all these other affluent guys of all these old money families that basically created the CIA.
So this thing that was recovered, this was the first documented one that the United States had access to?
I can't get into if it was the first or not, but it was an early one.
Very early.
Yeah.
So it's almost 100 years ago.
Yes.
And so they take this thing and then they bring it where?
Yeah, I can't get into those
Can't get
details
into
now.
that.
No.
Okay. So they bring it somewhere in the United States. And was the attempt to try to back engineer this thing? Was the attempt to try to understand? what it was?
Yeah, I mean, first of it, obviously, it's understanding the situation, right? And like I've said in some other videos and stuff, that we took the Manhattan Project secrecy and overlaid it on this issue because that secrecy worked well for atomic bomb developments and whatnots. And certainly this whole program in a nutshell, if I were to like summarize the 90 plus years of history, it is a reverse engineering program to garner some kind of insight. And of course, not a lot of the things that we've learned from it are like directly, ripped off the technology we found, but it has inspired other innovations that made its way into other U.S. classified programs over the year for national defense reasons.
The UFO folklore is that this is where fiber optics were discovered first.
Yeah, I'm not going to break the seal on anything we've discovered or anything like that. And yeah, it's a place I can't go to.
How limited are you in what you can discuss and what you can't discuss, and why?
Yeah.
Why do they let you discuss any of this?
Yeah, so anything sensitive that I want to say as it relates to like U.S. government activity, whether it be intelligence stuff, military stuff, etc., I have to submit it through what they call DOPSR, DoD Office of Pre-Publication and Security Review. That is something anybody who's been an intel officer, anybody with like a clearance, has to submit that kind of stuff. Now, obviously, if you're writing a book about gardening, you don't have to. But if you're going to talk about anything military and intelligence related, you have to submit. So it's kind of a catch-22 for this office, right? They're only looking at it from a security perspective. They're not vouching for it or anything like that. And that's like any author, right? They could write a book about Navy SEALs and they're not vouching for the story. They're vouching that you didn't say any nasty code words. You didn't burn a specific ongoing classified program. And for them, I mean, I'm not in their OODA loop, but certainly it's a catch-22 for them where if they want to redact and they propose a redaction, they're like, hey, Dave, you can't say these sentences. You can rewrite it and resubmit. We can't necessarily tell you what agency said to redact it, but you're not allowed to say this. So in my opinion, probably the policy is like, if it has to deal with the subject, we're not saying anything. We're not proposing any redactions. As long as he's not burning a conventional program, we kind of have to allow him to exercise his First Amendment rights. And so I think it's like a catch-22 for that office is kind of the short of the long answer.
So this is essentially one of the very early ones, 1933.
Mm-hmm.
How many crash retrieval incidents have there been?
It is double digit. The specific numbers I do know. However, I can't discuss that. And I know it sounds like, oh, I'm being coy or whatever, but this show, any other interviews I do, right? Foreign intelligence services are watching, and it's like, I'm not here to help Russia and China calibrate their intelligence collection. We missed a couple. Shit, let's put it out for the KGB, SVR, and GRU are now going to hit the streets to try to figure out which ones they missed. So I'm here to protect national security, and I'm just trying to put all the general topics out there for public conversation to hold our government accountable, really. So, because I'm here as a fact witness, because we have a constitutional oversight issue because this program has not been reported to Congress in the appropriate way, and I can get into a senator I talked to that has died recently, so I can explain to you why I'm so sure. Besides what I read, which we can get into what intel reports I read, I did get some stuff cleared. So during my investigation, I'm like, you know what? I need to talk to somebody at the highest levels, right? So, and this will give you an idea of the kind of people we talk to. And this is the only one I'm going to talk about using their name because they died 2 years ago. So in spring 2021, I actually flew with a couple colleagues of mine to Las Vegas. And I met with Senator Harry Reid. And of course, he's a private citizen now. And I wanted to brief him on the topic, and I wanted to get his kind of thought leadership on it because, he was a Gang of Eight member, right? Which is the top most cleared senators and congressmen. He was the majority leader, for God's sakes, of the Senate. And I knew, he helped sponsor the OSAP program that I mentioned and where they looked at Skinwalker Ranch and some other things. And I wanted to understand, like, what does Harry Reid actually know? Like, why did he give $21 million to DIA and Bigelow Aerospace for this. So I'm sitting there in Harry Reid's living room, right next to him with some other witnesses that were there with me. And he straight up says, he's like, yeah, I knew we had UFO material. I was denied access for decades. I tried to get access. And then he explained some of his efforts during OSAP. And I was like, holy shit, did the former majority leader just say, did he just confirm this to me as well? I was already talking to these amazing high-level people, but I have Harry Reid literally saying, yes, we have material, and, he knew it was non-human.
Did Harry Reid have personal experience with this?
I don't know if he's had any personal stuff in his personal life.
I mean, did he see it? Did he
said,
witness?
In terms of seeing the material himself, he said he was denied access for years. Decades was his term. And he actually told me on behalf of me, so he had like a weekly call with President Joe Biden at the time. And he straight up said to me he was going to talk to President Biden about this issue, literally. And then what he was telling me about OSAP, I was like, holy shit, I have like 20 other people that told me this, dude. So the real history, what fucking OSAP was, because I think there's a lot of people out there that think they were looking at ghosts, Skinwalker Ranch. Yes, they went to the ranch as a secondary and tertiary objective. But the real reason, so like there's a document that came out a couple years ago through FOIA from the Defense Intelligence Agency. There was this special access program request that Harry Reid, you might have seen this, I think like George Knapp and company have reported on this, that he sent to the Deputy Secretary of Defense, William Lynn. And it was asking for one of the most serious SAPs you can ask for, what they call a bigoted, waived special access program. So waived means it's limited congressional reporting. And bigoted means it's like by name. And it was like, you could read the FOIA document. It was like, Harry Reid, James Inhofe, Lou Elizondo, etc. And I'm like, why are you asking for the most serious SAP to be created for a program that ostensibly is looking at Skinwalker Ranch and stuff? And it doesn't make any sense. So what really happened there, and Harry Reid, God bless his soul, made this disclosure a couple weeks after we met in the New Yorker, and you can look this up. I think it was like a May 2021 New Yorker story where he says, I knew for decades, and he made this disclosure, not me, so I'm going to say the name of the contractor. Harry Reid said this. We knew that Lockheed Martin had this material for decades. I tried to get access, and I was denied. And specifically with the Lockheed Martin stuff, he was talking about during the OSAP program. And for the people who are on this program, I submitted this shit to DOPSR, got this cleared, so don't freak out, but I'm telling the truth here. So Lockheed Martin wanted to divest itself from this material at a specific facility that's known to me that I provided to the Inspector General. And the idea was if they made a security catcher's mitt for this shit, most serious SAP possible, the contractor and the other government customer, which was the Central Intelligence Agency, for that specific Lockheed material. And it was shit that they recovered from like the 50s and stuff. And it was like bits and pieces of like hull structure, shit like that. And so they were going to tech transfer it, and the $21 or $22 million was actually for Bigelow Aerospace to build out, facilities in Las Vegas and material analysis equipment. And I saw the staff meeting slides, I saw the paperwork. Like there's a paperwork trail I've seen on this shit, and I talked to the people involved in this program.
So you were saying that you're on the fence, off the fence about Grush.
The story I was hearing is it's a lot. I'm going to skip a lot of it, but what I was reading and / what they were saying is that one possibility that could be going on is there is I think we're taking in some of Graham Hancock stuff too. If people were around on Earth 500,000 years ago, in some way, there was some split and a second set of humans continued on, and we're like in this interdimension space where they're both happening simultaneously, and that's where like if
he was saying this,
no, this is I'm gathering this all from like that video. I'm adding in some of Graham Hancock stuff too, because this kid also interviewed him, Jesse Michaels, on his podcast.
Okay.
And they're talking about some of the same stuff. But something they said in the Grush interview on his podcast was that an idea would be that these people exist on like a split timeline from us. Like we had cataclysms and died and repopulated and whatnot. Now we've ended in this place in 2023 with combustion engines and we're flying around. These people would have been in a different anti-gravity. Who knows what they figured out?
And they went somewhere else?
They're not even saying that. This is where like they're not going to talk. They haven't talked about that, but I think what they're saying or getting at maybe is that they're here, and that's why the nuclear thing is so important to them. They're on the same planet as us, and if we blow up the planet, it goes away for them.
So they're
too.
here, we just don't know where they are?
And that's where the interdimension thing comes in. I don't think I'm saying it's my theory. This is what they're sort of saying.
understand.
And Grush is sort of like, that's an interesting thing you're saying. He's not confirming it with them or anything, but it's a lot to take in. That's definitely for sure.
Yeah, it's all a lot to take in. David Grush is that UFO whistleblower that testified in front of Congress.
Yeah.
The thing about it is, I believe he's telling the truth as far as what he's experienced and the documents that he uncovered and the people that he talked to. But how do you know whether or not they're just using him as a useful idiot to just get out some silly story because they're covering up for the fact that there's some very advanced drone system that the United States government has that they're trying to keep under wraps?
Right.
It might be
Tough to
both.
know.
I think it's probably both things. Well, here's the thing. You're out in the woods all the time. You ever see a UFO?
No.
Ever see Bigfoot?
No.
Ever talked to a hunter that's seen a UFO?
No.
Ever talked to a hunter that's seen Bigfoot?
I talked to
Really?
the guys down at San Carlos, the Apache Reservation.
Yeah.
They said they've seen stuff.
Okay. Were they on peyote?
I don't know.
Because I know a lot of those Indians like to get down.
I don't think so. I mean, I don't. And it's been
Did
like
they just-
multiple times,
What kind of stuff?
like square, like something square flying.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Because that is the thing that they describe, right? It's a square with a sphere inside of it, like a black. No, the opposite.
Yeah.
A sphere with a black square
Yeah,
inside
like
of it.
a force
Yeah.
field or
I
something.
always fucked that
Yeah.
up.
So that's.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody other than that. That's the first story I've heard from somebody who I have talked to.
Well, that kind of makes sense. Because
Yeah.
that thing they do spot, that's a common one. Some flying square inside a sphere. And that's like legitimate pilots have seen that. That's a weird one.
Right.
Because my theory, and this is totally unfounded without any research whatsoever. It's just
Those
me
are the
sitting
best
around.
kind.
This is my favorite kind of theories. My theory is that they have this ability to make something move in this insane way with gravity, but they can't put a body in it and they can't put weapons in it. They can't. It's just an object that they can get to move at insane rates of speed. That's what I think. I think the military applications of this thing have yet to be figured out. But I think they do have something that can do things that we have no knowledge of. But the United States government is probably have in their possession something that was either back engineered from something from somewhere else or something that they developed in a completely top secret environment with the top research scientists probably during the wars, during World War II and Vietnam.
That's
and,
impending.
And in Iraq and Afghanistan. You think about the amount of money that gets funneled through the government. And that they don't, I mean, didn't the Pentagon just for the 6th year in a row fail their audit? Imagine if
Probably.
you failed your audit 6 years
Yeah,
in a row.
I
Boy,
know.
they'd crawl up your ass with a fucking microscope.
Yeah.
I think, is that what it was?
But yeah, that is correct. It does say failed 6th audit with number passing grade.
So there's a lot of money flowing around is my point.
Yeah.
And who knows how much of that money is going to these secret programs that we don't know about.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
And if they did that and they did have the top scientists, and if I was the fucking president and I was the chief of staff and I was running the Pentagon, I would want the best scientists. So I'd recruit the best scientists and I'd say, hey, you know, this is national security. We're working on this project. It uses gravity propulsion. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Don't tell anybody, but you get to work on some cool shit.
Yeah. And you get paid a lot of money.
You get paid a lot of money,
Yeah.
and you get to be a part of one of the most insane discoveries in human history. So this is what we're working on.
Yeah.
I think that's likely too. But then you got to go back to like the Foo Fighters from the 1940s and the crash at Roswell, and that you also have to be open to the possibility that, like, look, there's a lot of planets out there. A lot of planets out there. It's very possible that we're not alone.